My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people. Welcome back again, guys, for another episode of Meet Cool People. And today I have a really awesome friend of mine, the amazing Steve Gamlin. He is the Motivational Firewood Guy. He teaches positivity, visualization, humor, and blends it all together to help his clients get the desired outcomes of not just the why, but the action plans to actually achieve them. And he and I had the cool conversation of meeting at the $1 Million Mastermind in 2021. That's when I actually brought him, or actually we met. We actually just literally sat down and had lunch together, just randomly talking, and hit it off. Had a great friendship. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let him do a little bit more of his own introduction. So let me go ahead and bring you in, Steve. How you doing,
Hey
my
there, Eli.
friend?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for having me as part of
Awesome.
this conversation.
Awesome. So you and I met at the Apex $1 Million Mastermind, literally just like standing in line at the random coffee shop at the hotel for the event, and ended up having lunch, hitting that off, and having a great time. Tell everybody a little bit more about what you're doing. You are the vision board guy, which is a lot of fun, and I know you've been helping a ton of people with that. Like, give us a little bit more background on that.
Yeah, when I say I'm the vision board guy, what I hear most often is people saying, "Oh, I made a vision board one time. It didn't work."
Mm-hmm.
And I just laugh because I know I've heard it before. I go, "Let me guess. You went to an event that the marketing basically said, "Hey, we're going to have wine, cheese, crackers, scissors, glitter, glue sticks, magazines, poster boards. We're going to make a vision board and manifest." They're like, "Yeah." Like, you probably paid maybe $25 for it. He goes, yeah. So here's the problem. You've got resolutions and you've got legit goals. You've got vision board parties and you got vision boards. That mindset is not establishing any roots. And the way I work and the way I teach people and coach people is to dig the diggest roots we can when we're starting out. So that as you continue to grow, as life happens, as things get thrown in your path. So the conversations that I have with regard to visualization are probably deeper than most other people out there. And yes, I do make the process a lot of fun, and I have a blast working with my clients.
Yeah, and I know you do. I've met I know several people, specifically through Apex, that are touting when they've worked with you how the results that they've gotten with you, which has been a lot of fun, and you've really helped them achieve their goals. I know, like Lori got her book done working with you, and I mean that's the one right off the top of my head because it was such a cool
Yeah,
thing to see her launch that.
yeah.
So, how did you get started in getting as the vision board guy? How did you get into that role?
Oh, it's the best thing I ever could have done. I completely dismantled and destroyed my entire life 21 years ago.
All right, give us a little bit more about that one.
Yeah, I when I was 11 years old, I wanted to be four things in life: a radio DJ, an author of my own books, a stand-up comedian, and a teacher of people. But I didn't want to be in a classroom. And when I was 24 years old, I got into the radio industry at the urging of a friend who believed in me more than I did at the time. And I worked about 15 years worth of hours in 10. In addition to working 60 hours a week at the radio station, I DJ'd weddings on the weekends, burnt myself into the ground. Along the way, I'd gotten married. And right around 2002, I was just fried and falling apart, working 6, 7 days a week, exhausted. Marriage was starting to show signs of cracking. And in one fell swoop, with almost zero forethought, I quit my radio career, went through a divorce, and realized at age 35 I was $62,000 in debt, without a place to live and without a full-time job, and crashed with family. And it turned out to be the greatest blessing ever, because I got to take care of my dad, because his health had started to fail about that time. And I also met, through a friend, a cool person, a life coach, and I was his very first client. And he started asking me questions, especially after a day I spent an hour hitting golf balls in a thunderstorm, daring the lightning to hit me. when I retold the story of that, he said, "Have you ever thought of being a motivational speaker or a stand-up comedian?" And it just snapped back to when I was 11. So I pursued both, and then I discovered The Secret, which at the time was a nice bare bones basic description of the law of attraction. And I honed in on 3 minutes out of a 98-minute DVD of The Secret, where some guy named John Assaraf was talking about visualization. I was so fascinated by it, and it resonated with me so well that I put it into practice immediately. I didn't go buy anyone else's programs. I just wanted to figure my own way. And the first couple of boards I made were really bad. It was all material stuff. And then I started to dig into 8 major areas of life and just started taking these little bits and little steps. And when I started to create a lot of success in my life, other people suddenly realized, hey, my life sucks. Hey, Steve, can you teach me how you put your life back together? That's literally how I became the vision board guy. I just started teaching more people. And thank God I took notes for those first 7 years of putting my life back together.
That is awesome. I love it. And, there's so many people. It's kind of funny. The Secret came up in a conversation just recently. And it's been long enough now since that first came out that there's actually people who don't know what it is now, which is really kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, John's got some amazing stuff, and I can totally see how that starts. And you talked about something, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of teach for just a minute here. Let's go ahead and kind of break down a little bit of those 8 areas that you talked about, because that's one of the things that a lot of times I know from both law of attraction stuff and vision board stuff that it's very generic in where those parts and pieces come into play. I would love for you to share a little bit about each of the areas, and we'll just kind of briefly, like 1 or 2, 1 minute about each one or something like that. Just real so people get an idea of what those 8 areas really are, because I think that this takes what you do to that next level where people can actually get it and understand it.
Yeah. And to preface the 8 areas, what do you and I see and hear most often when we tell people, you need to maybe create a vision board? It might help you. The board we see: Lamborghini, yacht, mansion, private jet, helicopter, big honking gold watch, and a bank vault full of gold bars. It's like, okay, here's an easier way to do that. Get a pen and paper and write, "Dear Santa Claus." For me, there's nothing wrong with money and material wealth, but what I feel most people fail at or don't even understand, they're ignorant of this, is according to the way I teach it, which is using a standard life wheel. There are 8 major areas of life. What most people are not aware of is they're working together 24/7. So wouldn't it be a really good idea to have some input, even just for 1 year at a time, to set a goal in each of the categories? And they are your physical health, your emotional well-being, your relationships, the core values that guide everything you do, thoughts, words, and actions, your faith and spirituality. If that's an important part of your life, kind of like the core values, it guides you. The source of it just comes from a different direction. Your connection to the world in a real way. And look what happened over the past few years with COVID, with isolation and depression and anxiety and addiction, and just people really feeling disconnected and adrift. And then you have your career and your money. Now, when you think about it this way, say, for example, you want to take better care of yourself. So you devote some energy to your physical health. You eat better. You consume more healthy things. You get enough sleep at night. You exercise. All of a sudden, you get more energy. You get more energy and focus. You can work more efficiently. You do that, you can earn more money. You earn more money, you can buy back some freedom and time in your relationships. Now, if you do it all with really good emotions and connection to the really good, best people, you create better results. And obviously, if you've done it with good core values, you never have to look over your shoulder to wonder what you said to anybody and how you're living as a person. So that one decision can impact all 8. And when you start to see that, you begin to realize that vision boards are not just all about what you get, but it's who you become, which can help you to get better results over time. But the knowledge, sometimes I see the light go on in someone's head when they see the life wheel that I work with. And it's beautiful to watch, because then they start to tell me in our coaching sessions all these other parts of their lives and where these little improvements are coming from.
I love it. That is, you just said something I think is really important. You talk about the core values. And I think that that's something that's really popped up a lot in just the last couple of years,
Yeah.
that people are coming, especially with what happened with, when everything happened with 2020, and we spent a lot of time alone, but just by ourselves and trying to figure out what the world was going to look like. I think it had people actually stop and think a little bit more about the future and what really was important, which I think was way, way overdue. And one of the things that I noticed from that, I know you're very big into that with the core values and everything that you're doing. I mean, I see what you do and the stuff that you post. And one of the things, like for me, that's personally inspiring is that, like, you always post about your workouts and how you've transformed the way you look and how you feel about yourself. Honestly, it's not just about your physical well-being, but it creates that confidence as well, which I think is awesome. And I've loved seeing that transformation. And for me, that's been motivational as well. That's one of the things that I think is really important for all of us to pay attention to is when we become that better person, and see all these different areas, the 8 areas you're talking about, seeing those evolve. Next thing you know, you're impacting other people with those same things.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And, I'm not one of those guy. First off, I'm not this type of guy anyway. But second off, I couldn't pull it off right now. I'm not one of these guys who works out and then posts a picture of himself not wearing a shirt. And
Yeah.
hey, all the greatness in the world
Yeah.
to the people who can and are willing to do that, because I know they're very proud of their progress and wherever they came from. And I have no problem with people doing that. I'm not one of those guys. My co-star in my workouts is actually a spider who lives in our garage.
Yeah.
And even the neighbor's kids came over and said, "Where's Dave?"
Yep.
I said, "Dave." They go, "The spider." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's right. Your mom follows me on social media." And they said, "He exercises with you." I said, "Yeah, Dave's on the wall somewhere every day, and I just got to find him and know where he is, or I don't let him jump on me." But it's those little things that become part of the workouts. It's not just grind, grind, grind. It's this whole experience
Right.
that I've created. That's what people say has brought them the most joy and inspiration. I'm a regular, everyday guy.
Yeah.
Who wasn't happy at 247 pounds 2.5 years ago? Who wasn't happy draining a bottle of 94 proof rum a week?
Yeah.
Who wasn't happy, coping with depression and anxiety sometimes, which I have dealt with in the past. So when I started exercising, not only did the weight go down, but the confidence went up.
Mm-hmm.
And as rooster-haired and gross as I may look in the morning, those are the pictures I love posting online because, hey, we're in the mud, people.
Yeah.
I'm not here to look glamorous. I'm here to show that you can hardwire some habits in your life as well. If I can do it, believe me. I'm undiagnosed, but I guarantee ADHD. And until 2 days ago, I drank a bottle of 5-Hour Energy every day for the past 16 years. And I just kicked that habit as well.
Yeah. Congratulations. That's awesome. And you did, there's a couple things I want to touch on here because number one, you're sharing a whole bunch of stuff from a real person standpoint. Not, you're not a gym rat. Okay. So, you and I both know a lot of those guys and neither of us are that way. But the cool thing about that is there's some people that is going to appeal to, and that's perfectly fine. There are some people that it doesn't appeal to, and that's where stuff like what you're doing is making a big difference for those kind of people. Like I'm one of those people. And you talk about that stuff and you share your journey with all this. You just talked about, your rum issue that you had going on. And it's like, okay, now this is one less thing that one thing that I have kicked a bad habit. And now I'm, bettering myself, and you're sharing that journey with other people. And I think that's really important. That's one of the things that for me personally, why you and I resonated so well is because you are just you. You're a real person. You're a blast to hang out with, blast to have a good conversation with. I'm still trying to figure out how it was just 2021 when we met, because we hang out with a lot of the same people. We've got a lot of the same friends, and somehow we just never crossed paths until that one random day standing in line at the hotel to get some food for lunch. And, so it's cool to see that journey. And as you go through, if somebody's just, somebody's at that point where they're like, they know they need to make changes. They know they need to step up the game, but they're not really sure what that looks like. Because we've done all the motivational stuff. We've heard, people just get out there and do it. And, we've got all the gurus out there.
Yep.
But you have a very unique way of doing it with your 8 areas. And if somebody's just starting out, what's the first step that you would suggest for them to kind of dive into? Simplify it down, because things are too complicated in the world. How do we make it super easy for somebody to just get started?
Yeah. The first thing, grab a pen and paper, go somewhere quiet, turn off all things electronic, anything that could possibly distract you. Don't be typing them into your phone, because the damn thing's going to keep buzzing and vibrating and you're going to get so sidetracked. Even if you just think of one area of your life, say it's just your health, that you're concerned, you want to improve your health. Think of exactly the weight you want to see on your scale. Think of the words you would use to describe yourself in the state, even just 1 year from now, how you would like to see that person in the reflection in your mirror. And where I go with this is I ask people, what do your goals look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, taste like? Hit every sense. What we're doing is we're Frankensteining together this deeply rooted, remember, going back to the roots, deeply rooted description of your future self. And then start to think, because some people say, well, what do you mean smell? I'm like, well, you want to be all sweaty from working out? That's a smell. It's not a pleasant one sometimes, but it's a smell of accomplishment. And they're like, well, okay, yeah, when I get a good sweat on, yeah, I feel good. Awesome. You got that. And then you got, okay, what are some of the healthier foods you want to eat? Or maybe you like to cook and bake at home, which my wife Tina and I love to do. So you start thinking of all these things when you close your eyes, when you see that ultimate version of yourself. And what's the first step? Maybe you go look up some recipes online. Maybe you reach out to somebody you know who's a trainer or is in really good shape and say, hey, look, I'm just getting started at this. What are your top 3 suggestions? And just have these conversations with people. But don't be afraid to put yourself out there and say, hey, look, I'm in a place right now. It's not perfect and I'm not super happy. This is where I'm starting. If you think of it like the old wooden roller coaster, which is an analogy I use all the time. You're at parking lot level. Like you're sitting in the car and you can still see your car in the parking lot. And you're looking at the top of that first hill. Any one of your goals, that's where it's sitting right now. What you have to do every day is go click, 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 click. I don't believe in you've got to take massive action in every area of your life the day after the giant motivational event. Most of us can't handle that. Our wiring will just explode and we'll fall back into our old habits and be disappointed in ourselves because we suck, because we couldn't change our own lives after going to the 3-day mega motivational rah by myself event.
Right.
So not only are we still in the same place, we've actually got more rocks in our backpacks carrying because we're so mad at ourselves because we feel like failures. Hey, I've been there, man.
Right.
I used to get ticket stuff from a Tony Robbins event in January of 2000 that I did nothing with.
Right. Well, and I think that's one of the things that happens with a lot of that kind of stuff is people go through and they think that they can do everything that they learned. And this is at any kind of event, whether it be motivational or marketing or, in business oriented, whatever it is. The reality, especially at a 3-day event, there is no way you can do everything. So you need to figure out, okay, what is, like, for me, when I go to an event, doesn't matter what it is, I'm planning on, I'm going to take good notes throughout the entire thing. But at the end, I'm looking for 2, maybe 3 things that I can go back and implement and start working on right away. And that's it. And that's max, and even those 3 things, I got to weigh them down, which is going to be, what's going to be the easiest to implement and get running as fast as possible, which is going to be the fastest, which is the most important thing, because the faster you get results, the faster you're more likely you're going to move into the next one and get motivated by it. And it's kind of like what you're talking about is like, don't try to do everything. Just pick one thing. And what you're talking about here is developing a new habit. That's all it really is. You just pick one area and just get the habit of that one thing going before you work on the next thing.
Yeah. And I take advice, bits and pieces from everywhere. And I took 2 amazing ones that have helped me with my habits from Mel Robbins, who I absolutely love. Mel's a speaker, author, coach, everything. 2 of them. And she's written a book about each one. And one is called The 5-Second Rule, and the other one is The High 5 Habit. So for about the last 2 years, Every morning, my alarm, Monday through Friday, goes off at 5:15. 5-second rule. I have to turn off the clock within 5 beeps. And then in my head, I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Both feet have got to be touching the floor. I lean back, kiss my wife Tina on the cheek, and then I'm off. I get into the bathroom, turn on the light, wonder why we have 5 blazing lights above the vanity because I can't see a damn thing. And through one little tiny corner of my eye, I get a huge smile on my face and I'm high-fiving myself in the mirror. By then, I can already hear a classic rock song in my head. That'll be the first one I play at the start of my workout. So I go in there, brush my teeth, weigh myself, go get my gym clothes, go down to the basement, walk a mile plus. Then I do resistance bands, stretching, dumbbells, upstairs for a minimum of 7.5 miles on our Peloton cycle. And then I'm off. But the key to developing that habit really well was 5-second rule. Got to take action. Can't sit there and hit snooze. And then high-fiving myself in the mirror, being the first person every day to cheer myself on. Those are the little tiny steps that hardwired those habits for me. And now, even now in the middle of the day, I'll walk past the bathroom, lean in, and high-five myself again and just keep on going about my business. It's like neurons firing. If you embrace them and do them enough days in a row, and there's so many different numbers out there as to how many days it takes to hardwire a habit. But if you keep doing it, you're going to create a much better version of yourself who's going to have a bigger set and a lot more confidence.
That is awesome. I love that. And, for everybody this listening to what Steve just said, he just talked about his workout routine, which actually is a lot more than I even realized it was. For anybody who's listening to this, don't think you have to do all those kind of things right at first. Start with one thing and do that. And he just used exercise as an example. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take one example from one of your other areas? So we've got health covered. So one of the other 8, let's take one example of somebody's like, okay, this is something I'm struggling with. What should I be doing to take that next step?
Yeah, one of the ones I hear the most about is people in their relationships.
Okay.
Big time. Very helpful. One of the first things I suggest to people, and this can apply whether or not you're in a relationship. Like maybe you're at a point where now you're single, you've been for a while, and you want to get out there and find your next best relationship, but you're worried about repeating all the old mistakes. So if you're in one or not, here's how it can work. Go online and look up, there's so many quizzes for this, your love language, and figure out what your love language is in a relationship. And then start to think of the type of person you'd like to be in a relationship with. And think of what that person would like, how that person likes to communicate, and what their importance is. In some of the most telling signs, my wife Tina and I have been together, next June will be 17 years, is I know her love language and she knows mine. Now, we didn't just say, hi, this is my love language. Once in a while, a situation will come up and she'll ask me something and my response would have been to do something completely different. About a year and a half ago, the weather was kind of bad. We live here in New England, so go figure. And she asked, hey, can you bring me to my nail appointment tonight because the weather's bad, it's going to be dark, and she does not super comfortable driving at night. And my first thought was, well, I was going to make a new TV stand for the new TV we had just bought for our bedroom. And she just said, oh, okay. And she went out to get the mail. And then I thought, okay, hold on. Teachable moment. I grabbed a little slip of paper and a pen and said, I would rather have my hubby, and I gave her 2 choices, 2 boxes. Drive me to my nail appointment, build the TV stand, and I left a red pen next to it. The next time I came down from my office, I looked at it and she had checked off, drive me to my nail appointment. And I just laughed and I said, that's her love language. It's time together. Even a simple ride in the car. I love to leave out the Keurig in the winter for her. If I know she's going to be having a cup of coffee, I'll put her favorite flavor in the pod. Make sure there's water in the reservoir. Put her favorite mug underneath. The little things like this in a relationship, when you're aware of your love language and the love language of your partners, it makes for a much easier relationship. And it undoes all of society's BS about how all of the genders are supposed to act in relationships. And it brings us even closer. And I leave Tina notes all the time now. And I think, judging by the shoebox I discovered recently, she's kept every single one. You know what that makes me want to do? write even more because I know how much that means to her.
That is awesome. I love it. And that's again, it's just little habits, little things like that are also very cool.
That's it.
Yeah. So what kind of cool things are you working on right now? You're doing all kinds of fun stuff. Let's dig into what fun stuff you're working on.
We've got some cool stuff going now. Now, I mean, that I have the Vision Board Mastery program, which is the big full-on program. That's the top tier. I was talking with a bunch of people just a few months ago, and they said, Steve, I just need the basics to get started. I'd love to do your program, but right now I'm so intimidated by it. So I'm actually creating, it's going to launch in a few weeks, a little program called Vision Board 101. Which is just, it's the entry level, understand what's really going on here without having to put somebody through the deepest dive. They can progress to that. Mm-hmm. But somebody basically just said, I just need the basic ABCs of this. So I looked up on GoDaddy, Vision Board 101. It was available. So guess what the name of the program is going to be?
Nice. I love it.
I don't know how that worked out, but I got it. So that's coming up, and we're also relaunching. It's been a while. The group coaching program, 2 45-minute calls per month, making it as interactive and fun and just enjoyable. And my personal mantra, my hashtag for next year is 1,000 people pay and stay in that program. And that's my goal for that, to not just drop knowledge a couple times a month, but to build a community that is so vibrant that they're throwing me all of their questions. And that's the content. It's all going to be member driven as far as what they might be struggling with or challenged by. And that's what I really want to create. I'm so looking forward to that. It's been a couple of years since the coaching program got retired after the loss of my mentor, Lonnie Robinson, who had created the whole foundation for it. And then when I lost him, we lost all that too. And I didn't put it back together. It didn't feel right until very recently, working with a new team.
Well, sometimes it takes putting on the back burner for a bit. I mean, reality is this podcast got put on the back burner for 2 years. Yeah. I had it ready to go, and then it just wasn't the right place and right time for me. And I was like, all right, we're going to have to sit on it for a while. And then more recently, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, it's time again. And so I'm glad to bring it back. I'm glad to bring you on here so we can have a cool, fun conversation.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you so much. And, life happens. And when the time is right, you get that little tap on your shoulder. And if you don't obey it right away, the tap will become a 2x4 to the back of your head. And then you go, oh, yeah, I wanted to do that.
Awesome. Very cool. And so, I'm going to recap what the action step really should be for everybody is like, think about one area of your life that you want to make a difference in, and, reverse engineer. What does that look like? Write down what does the end goal look like? And, that's from there, you can see what are the steps I need to take to get there, which is pretty much the way Steve's program works. It helps you get that along the way. So as we wrap up here, I got 2 questions for you. The last question will be, how do people get a hold of you? But before that, what does Meet Cool People mean to you?
Getting out there, just being out in the public and being aware, not staring at your shoes, not staring at your damn phone, but wherever you are, just look around and see who's around. I said good morning to 3 different people this morning at the post office. And they both just turned around and said, hey, good morning. And I'm like, these are cool people. I mean, to me, that's all it takes to qualify is a positive moment. My whole goal is to walk around all day long with a trail of plus signs in my wake. And I create so many of them by actually engaging with other people.
Yeah.
Just saying hi, or, saw this one person one time. I said, that is the coolest hat I've seen all day. Me, I couldn't pull it off, but you, that's awesome. And I walked out the aisle of the grocery store, and even in the next aisle, I could hear them laughing like, who the hell was that guy? Cool person in a cool hat.
That is
I just
awesome.
work to create moments like that all day long. And It is so soul firing and soul connecting. It really is.
That is awesome. And with me, it's kind of a lot of the same thing. It's like, I wake up in the morning thinking, okay, who am I going to make a positive impact for today? And that could be as much as that, just giving a compliment to a stranger, smiling and saying hi to the baristas. They're making your morning mocha, whatever that thing is. I mean, just Make somebody's day better. That's all we have to ask. It's not that hard. It really isn't. Awesome. Well, this has been fun, my friend. So last question. How do people get a hold of you? Because I know people are going to want to find out more about what you're doing and vision board programs, all that kind of fun stuff. And and you have a podcast. Let's talk about that for just a second too. So
Sure.
How do people get a hold of you? Tell them about the podcast, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, you can find me. Everything nice and easy is housed at stevegamlin.com, and that's Gamlin. And I also have the Motivational Firewood podcast that I've had for so many years. And one of the things people say they love most about it, other than when I'm interviewing people, and those are actually winding down, most of my podcasts are between 5 and 8 minutes long. So it's a nugget of information, a piece of motivational firewood, if you will. You can add to the spark in your heart. Go do something. Create that next little, could be your first step, could be your 101st. It doesn't matter. It's just all about providing nuggets and information and some stories about some cool people that I know and things that I've discovered in my life as well.
Awesome. Love it, my friend. It's a pleasure having you as a guest. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today. And for everybody out there, get out there, take action. Be sure to connect with Steve. I mean, follow him on social media. He's easy to get a hold of, and he's always posting some really, really great stuff. With that, Steve, again, thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of the day. And that wraps up another Meet Cool People show. Now, if you like what you heard, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, or review so I can help introduce these amazing cool people to even more amazing cool people. And just remember, meeting cool people is just the beginning. You need to have a system in place to follow up with the amazing people that you meet. This is exactly what we do for our clients. If you'd like to see if my team and I can help you, go to followuprockstar.com and check out the case study video to see exactly how we're helping our clients turn casual connections into cash clients for life. Again, go to followuprockstar.com and we'll see how we can work together to turn you into a follow-up rockstar.